The Arizona Cardinals run their way to 5-4, just like we all expected, right?
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Alex Clancy here. Follow me on Twitter, Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen free, wherever you get your podcasts, and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by FanDuel. You could start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. I've been working in sports radio since 2011. I've been hosting this lovely podcast since 2017. And I haven't had a feeling like I have today after watching what we've watched the last 3 weeks. And it's not pinpointed at one thing. There's been ups and downs in each of the last 3 games. It's how the Cardinals are winning. It's how they're staying in contention, even when the offense is sputtered at times. It's how they're staying in contention when the defense can't rush the passer at times and they can't stop anybody at times. It's the collective from top to bottom of how this team is conducting itself for 60 minutes on game day. It's something that I can confidently say that I've never experienced since being in this market for the last 13 plus years. I can confidently say that. And while, sure, it's been ugly at times, and sure, it's been weird and convoluted since Monty Osford and Jonathan Gannon and Drew Petzing and Nick Rallis took over at the end of the 2022 season with Kyler Murray's injury and Kyler not playing great at times and the offensive line being bad at times and the defense being non-existent and everything in between. After the win yesterday, this is no longer a coincidence. It's no longer the Cardinals got lucky to eke out that win. What this is, I think 3 is was necessary there, a different organization. This is not an overstatement. This is not me speaking in platitudes. I understand Michael Bidwell is still the owner, and I understand the Cardinals are only 5-4, and they're 8-9 with Kyler Murray under Jonathan Gannon over the last 2 seasons. People are looking for perfection when other people are celebrating. People are looking for the negatives when other people are celebrating. And it's one thing that I can't really understand, especially from a fan base who has been so used to losing pretty much since the inception of the organization, save 5 or 7 seasons. What yesterday felt like was a different organization. An organization that didn't need to cater to an egomaniac quarterback or didn't need to cater to a number 4 overall pick who happens to be a wide receiver when all the Cardinals did was run roughshod all over the Chicago Bears defense. It doesn't matter how they do it. It's that they're doing it, and that's the biggest point. Please go to the YouTube channel, Locked On Arizona Cardinals. I'll talk about Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. in the final segment. I'll talk about the winning ways and what I mean in the second segment. But first, the Cardinals run for 213 yards, 3 touchdowns, including Trey McBride's first touchdown that wasn't falling on a fumble in the end zone, in that fashion. Trey Benson got in the end zone. Amari Demercato got in the end zone. James Conner ran for over 100 yards, and Kyler Murray ran 2 times for 6 yards. And it was the catalyst for the win yesterday. What it shows is, even though the Cardinals have had some not so great moments this year, and I'm the first to admit it, it's obvious. The fact that they could do that to any NFL team when the other NFL team knew exactly what they were going to continue to do and were unable to stop them, that is a power move that few teams in the NFL could pull off. And I know that Montez Sweat wasn't playing. I get it. I was watching. This defense is better than most in the NFL, the Chicago Bears is. And they were absolutely punished by the Cardinals on the ground yesterday. And the beauty of it was two things that I've been pining for the last 2 seasons, but namely since Kyler Murray came back. The run game needs to be effective outside of James Conner and Kyler Murray for the longevity of both players, as well as the balance of the rush attack when James Conner's not on the field. Because when James Conner is not on the field, you see Amari Demercato on the field, you're like, oh, pass play. Because Amari Demercato is good in pass pro. But the fact that you saw 2 young backs, Trey Benson, rookie, and Amari Demercato, second year, absolutely show their speed on the outside and between the tackles yesterday is absolute chef's kiss for the future of this offense. It shows one of my favorite things to say on the show, at least over the last 2 years, because it wasn't much winning going on. The future pacing, proof that we saw yesterday was massive for where the Cardinals are right now in roster construction. Because say the Cardinals, I don't know, say they make the playoffs and they have to go to Philly in December. They have a pretty favorable schedule with weather down the stretch. They play the Rams and the 49ers the last 2 weeks of the year. And they play New England at home, I believe. Like, they've got a stretch. But, say they make the playoffs, and it's snowing, and it's gross, and the Cardinals have to run the ball 35 times to move the ball down the field. They're starting to see what their running back room looks like. Trey Benson finally looks comfortable as an NFL player. It's going to take some time. You're behind James Conner. This is one thing that a hill that I will die upon. Well, it's something that is so imperative for young players. And it's this. Most NFL players, their entire life, are starters. Doesn't matter what position, they're always wide receiver 1, cornerback 1, RB1, QB1, whatever it is. So for a guy like Trey Benson, who was for the entirety of his college career for the most part, comes in, is a backup immediately to a bona fide RB1 where he gets the lion's share of the carries. He gets put in a series here, a series there, in an offense that's pretty new to him. The juices flowing part for him was always so important because he would warm up and then play. Warming up on the sidelines, sitting for half an hour, and then getting a series here and there, it's hard to produce like that. Some can, most struggle with it. So the fact that he's getting a little bit more run, he got a couple series, he's able to, really get the juice flowing and show who he is as a back, you're starting to see it. He had a great burst between the tackles. He got in the end zone. This is something that's important. We saw Amari Demercato do it last year. A lot of it was during quote-unquote junk time because they weren't winning very many games and when James Conner was out. But that burst that he showed on the touchdown where he hit the edge and was gone to go into the half, regardless of if it was blown coverage or not, that burst is massive. Both of those guys are faster than James Conner right now. James Conner's, 5 years older than them. So having that 3-headed monster without Kyler Murray running the ball and without James Conner needing to be the 1, 2, and 3 option in the run game is massive. The fact that the Cardinals ran for over 213 yards yesterday in a convincing win was massive. So what are the winning ways? The Cardinals have won in myriad ways. What does it mean? We'll discuss it next. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by our friends at Robinhood. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.5% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on an IRA account. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up today at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply for product-specific disclosure. Visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rates may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is also brought to you by Prize Picks. I love Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy, man. Like, all you have to do is pick more or less than the given projections for 2 or more players, and you can win up to 10 times your cheese. And now it's not just NFL. You've got NBA. You've got so many options, and you can make an entry in 60 seconds or less. Deposits are easy. Withdrawals, you can get your cheese back in withdrawal form in as little as 15 minutes right back into your bank account. It's never been easier to play daily fantasy sports. So download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. 29-9. Big win, bigger picture, future pacing things that we're continuously seeing in wildly different ways. And this is not a knock. This is more of just a statement. When it comes to what we've witnessed in the last regime, everything needed to be pretty much perfect for the Cardinals to win. Every ball needed to bounce their way for the Cardinals to win. And what we've seen so far this year through the 5 wins, the Cardinals have 3 come from behind wins. They have 2 demonstratively overpowering wins against the Rams and against the Bears. And the overpowering wins were in very different fashions. Against the Rams, Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison Jr., 2 touchdowns over 100 yards in the first quarter. And then they stopped the Matthew Stafford offense that had all third-string offensive line. Cooper Kupp got hurt at halftime, and Puka Nacua didn't play. So, you give the defense their flowers for doing what any NFL defense is supposed to do against a hobbled offense. But what we saw with Chicago, that defense showed up. 6 sacks. It was Swiss cheese offensive line. I said it went from fermented to Swiss cheese. That offensive line is brutal. That offensive line is going to get, quote-unquote, Caleb Williams killed. That was insane. That is the teach tape. This pass rush is non-existent pretty much for the majority of the season, and you give up 6 sacks. Either way, the blitz packages were what some like to say exotic. Budda Baker and Mack Wilson, 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage, sacking Caleb Williams is my favorite one. It's they have so many weapons that they can rush the passer with. Kazir White in the backfield, Mack Wilson in the backfield, Max Melton, Garrett Williams, Budda Baker, Jalen Thompson. It doesn't just have to be the guys. And then Zaven Collins had 2 half sacks, rising like a phoenix from the ashes. So that defensive output was the most impressive that I've seen so far this year. Even though, they held the Chargers to not a touchdown, even though they gave up almost 400 total yards, that was a domination by the defense. It was an absolute bona fide domination. And the Cardinals offense didn't offer much favors. 2 turnovers. Kyler Murray threw for under 140 yards, under 150 yards, and Chicago won the time of possession battle. So if you would have told me, I haven't done this in a while, every day you'll know this one. If you would have told me, you look at the stat sheet without the score, say, yeah, the Cardinals probably lost. All of the metrics that go in favor of teams that win were flipped. So the winning waves by the Cardinals are strewn about in the best way. Miami, passing game, over 300 yards passing, led the team down the field at the end of the game. Massive 3rd-and-1 conversion, massive 3rd-and-4 conversion by Kyler Murray with his legs, setting up Chad Ryland for the game-winning field goal as time expired. The Charger game, a little bit of defense, a little bit of run game, a little bit of pass game, everything collectively was a very, very cohesive and adaptable game plan. The Cardinals are, by dictionary definition, taking what the opposing defenses are giving to them. And it was pretty obvious that they wanted to take away the pass game and make them beat them on the ground. The Bears did. And they did it in a very thumpingly convincing fashion. It was fantastic. So the reason why the Cardinals winning in different ways is so impactful and so important is because it shows that they're able to evolve when things aren't going perfectly. And that's coaching, that's preparation, and it's maturity. And while this team is far from perfect, while this team is not a top 5, top 7, top 8, top 10 team in the NFL right now, if you told me they were 7-2 through 9 weeks, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. The only 2 games that got absolutely blown out were Washington and Green Bay. The Cardinals, 3 out of the 4 teams that the Cardinals have lost to are leading their division and have a combined record of 21-5. The Bills, the Lions, and the Commanders. And Green Bay is second in the division, I think. Maybe not. Maybe they're third now because Minnesota won last night. The Cardinals have lost to teams that are better than them. They've beaten everybody else. And they've beat teams that are better than them also. But the teams that are a year at least ahead of them in roster building, especially, Buffalo and Detroit, 1-score games. The Cardinals defense has blanked the Lions, the 49ers, the Bears in the second half. So while it's not perfect, while the Cardinals desperately need infusion of talent on the defensive side of the ball, and I'm recording this Monday at 11 a.m. I know I was going to do it last night, but it's like, listen, if a trade comes down, bear with me for the next 2 days or 3 days, okay? I can only record this once. Through 9 weeks, the Cardinals have shown they can run the ball, they can throw the ball, they can play defense for long stretches of time, and they also have a defense devoid of pass rush for equally as long periods of time. They've been a bend-don't-break defense for the majority of the season, and that is something that is wildly impactful with the roster is currently constructed and how young that team is. Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison Jr., not their best outing. What does it mean? Spoiler alert, nothing. We'll discuss it next. Locked on Cardinals, your team, every day. This episode of Locked on Cardinals is brought to you by Hillsdale College. So here's the thing. Time is our most precious commodity, so don't waste it scrolling through the same mind-numbing content for hours and hours. How can you spend it wisely to improve yourself? Our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free online courses, including Constitution 101, the meaning and history of the Constitution, Introduction to Free Market Economics, The Great American Story, A Land of Hope, The Rise and Fall of the Roman Republic, and a brand new documentary-style course on Marxism, socialism, and communism. All of Hillsdale courses are self-paced so that you can start whenever and tune in wherever. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or just enjoy the lectures. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost, and it's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. hillsdale.edu/lockedon. Today's episode of Locked on Cardinals is also brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place the bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. All the information at the palm of your hand. You don't have to go open up a bunch of different Google tabs and stuff. It's right at your fingertips on the FanDuel app. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook of the NFL. Cardinals win 29-9. Felt good. It was a no-doubter. It was an absolute no-doubter. Caleb Williams, 22 for 41 for 217 yards. Roma Dunze had a good game, over 100 yards receiving. A lot of it was in garbage time. But I really want to focus on Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. Kyler Murray threw for 154 yards. Marvin Harrison Jr., 2 catches for 34 yards. One of those resulted in a fumble. Here are a couple things that the Cardinals have going for them that also simultaneously magnifies Marvin Harrison Jr.'s up and down so far. One, they're a run-first team. Okay, I've said multiple times over the last month especially, it doesn't have to be that way. It just is right now. That's the focal point. That's what works best. Setting up play action, doing it like that. If Marvin Harrison Jr. continues to, get better and stronger, it doesn't have to be like that. Kyler Murray can throw the ball 30 times and still control the game. But it does stick out like a sore thumb that Marvin Harrison Jr. is either great or bad. Great or bad. Part of the offense or not. And while I think yesterday was 100% game flow, 1,000,000% game flow, why would you stop running the ball? Oh, because Marv's number 4 overall. Stop it. Oh, because Kyler Murray's making all this money. Stop it. Run the ball. Bears can't stop him. Run the ball. Do it some more. Run the ball. Do it some more. Run the ball. Do it some more. And the fourth quarter is pretty much a wash. You're trying to run the clock out. If I were the Cardinals, I would have just knelt 3 downs in a row every series. I wouldn't have. But the K1 and Marv thing from yesterday, non-issue. Absolute, bona fide non-issue. Now, one thing that I'm starting to notice that I'm not the only one, okay? Marv's not strong enough yet. The wide receiver position is becoming more and more and more and more physical, even though it used to be very physical. But not everybody needed to be. Now, with all of the entire rule book favoring the offense, it's starting to become a little bit more physical. The announcers were even saying yesterday that they're letting them play down the field, and they should. Wide receivers and defensive backs should be able to grapple for a ball down the field. But Marv, anytime somebody really puts a hit to him, either drops the ball or he fumbled it yesterday, and there was a peanut punch coming out of nowhere. That could have happened to anybody. But he needs to get in the weight room. And it's one thing that's obvious. And I was thinking this morning, what's a good comp for him? And it doesn't have to be just football. A good comp for him, from me, is Kevin Durant. It's a perfect comp because Kevin Durant, when he was drafted to the Seattle Supersonics, he was like rail thin. And he's still, a thin guy. He's lanky, slim reaper. Like, I get it. But he was so thin. He just needed to bulk up for the next level. Because all he had to do for the entirety of his career was show up on a basketball court, and he was the best player on the court. Marvin Harrison Jr., same thing. That's not taking away from their work ethic to get to where they got in the NBA, in the NFL, respectively. Not at all. But weight room. That's all it's going to take. Okay? He's going to be able to run every route, and he has already. He's going to be placed all over the field like he has already. And he's got to be able to be better at contested catches. Now, he's been great at extending his arms. Like the touchdown against Miami was like, holy sweet mother of everything. How do you catch that ball and get 2 feet down? He's got that in his bag already. He's only going to get better with that. But the strength, that's one thing that is an outlier at this point that needs to improve. And it will. He's played 8 full games and then a blip in Green Bay. It's going to be fine. Okay? It's going to be fine. And just sewing that up, absolute game flow. That's what the issue was with Marv's numbers. That's what the issue was with Kyler Murray. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Kyler Murray doesn't have to throw the ball for 300 yards. He doesn't have to do it. if you're running the ball, it's like this is the first time a dominant run team has a quarterback that doesn't throw for 200 yards in the game. It's like, oh my God, what are they going to, oh God. Did they win? Did they expose a weakness on the defense? That's all that offensive game planning is, exposing weaknesses. And they did over and over and over again. Who cares where it comes from? Fans will find a reason to complain at anything. The Cardinals are 5-4. Enjoy it. The new regime is working. Enjoy it. Stop looking at the negatives all the time. Enjoy it. This is coming from a guy who's been vilified since 2012 for calling out Steve Keim for being inept. Look at the big picture. Things are changing. They're working. Be happy about it. Alex Clancy, Locked on Cardinals. Remember, without you, there is no me. I'll talk to you tomorrow.